Yeah, Dr. Reinier, we will continue the topic with his talk about the missing middle, launching your international tech career. And Dr. Reinier.
Yes. Yes, I need some help setting up the presentation. No. Missing middle. Sorry? Okay. Sorry? Yeah, I can't log in that easily, I'm afraid. Hmm? I have it.
Dr. Reinier, your slides is now on screen and you can start your talk. Sorry for having internet connection problem at Uganda side, and we are trying to fix, and we'll start the talk soon.
Yes, apologies. I think I am. I think it's working. Share screen. Sorry. Can people see my screen now? So now slideshow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah,
Now
it's
okay.
working.
Perfect.
Okay, so I hope everybody can hear me now. Cairo, if you cannot hear me, do let me know. Apologies for the small delay, because I was just in the panel. We had to set it up a little bit. But thank you all for having me today. My name is Reinier van Scherpenzeel, so I'm the COO of Tunga, and I'm going to talk today about middle, uh, or how you can use your international tech career. So before I said about what is the missing middle and how we're going to do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the promised land. And here's a question for everybody. So what do the known universe, the global demand for software developers have in common? And the answer is, oh, do you know it? Sorry? It's growing very well, yeah. So scientists recently discovered it's growing at an ever accelerating pace. Yeah, it's growing and growing and growing. Yeah? Probably. Okay. And we're back. Yeah, so the global demand for software developers is growing enormously. So if we look at the software developer demand growth in the US, for example, and this is from 2021. So 6.8 million extra jobs will be created in the software development ecosystem. If we look at the EU, 2.5 million extra jobs will be created by 2030. And so literally millions of jobs are there. And the situation is such that the growth could be more if there would be more software developers able to take on these jobs. Then if we look at the other part of the equation, in 2030, Sub-Saharan Africa will boost 375 million young people seeking employment. At this particular moment, less than a quarter of those are working in any formal industry. If we look at LinkedIn, professional services platform, we see that 350,000 people in Africa are advertising themselves as software developer. And Google recently released a report that says there are 700,000 software developers right now in Africa. And if you compare that to the potential, I'd say that's little. It's very little. And also, if you compare it to the amount of jobs out there that they could possibly fill, it's not even a fraction of it. So that's what Tunga is about. It's a big question. So why aren't African software developers flooding the international market yet? Why aren't all these young, brilliant people not working for international companies, filling these jobs that are waiting to be filled? What is happening? And that is our vision and our mission as Tunga. So we think that what you make of your life is your own responsibility. But the reality is that those chances are not equally distributed amongst the world. And in many parts of the world, it's difficult to gain those chances. And our mission is we are a platform that connects African developers with international clients. At the moment, we have more than 800 developers in our community that we are connecting to assignments all over the world, mainly in Europe at the moment, but also in the US, it's growing. So that is basically the promised land that we want to get to be able to connect this vast potential of African software developers with this enormous demand for software engineering. But the problem is the missing middle. And what do we mean by the missing middle? Let's take a look at common career path for African developers, but also I think this applies to the Middle East. When people start their career as a software developer, they usually are at the lower bracket of the pay scale. low end on the local market or working for local SME companies. Of course, the earning potential is limited, but this is also a necessary step to gain experience and for software developers to gain the skills necessary in a competitive environment. Now, if all goes well, they move up to more high-end local market. We're talking then about local corporates. We're talking about big business in capitals. We're talking possibly also government jobs. If you progress there, you end up in the low end of the international market. So these are international small to medium enterprises, mainly in the EU, where prices are still a little bit lower. And then if you progress, people end up in the mid-end international market, where the earning potential becomes really interesting, I would say. So these are funded SMEs. You can think about companies that are starting out with a great product and that have significant funding to attract software developers, plus non-tech large companies. And then at the end, so the top end market, the high end, we have tech segment leaders, corporates, multinationals from all over the world that are basically recruiting the top talent out there. So yeah, you can think about 5 to 10,000 euros or dollars a month in salary. And with the remote possibilities right now, these companies are recruiting basically from everywhere, but they are recruiting the top, the best of the best. And so what do developers need in able to walk through this career path? So there we see 5 different things. And so one is they need knowledge of the relevant software development languages. It's a bit binary, of course. So if you need a developer that knows a certain technology, they need to be able to do their work with that technology. Less binary, but equally important, is the knowledge of international coding standards. So you're going to work in an international team, people from all over the world, but you need to adhere to the same quality standards, security standards, maintainability standards. So when it comes to commenting on your code, when it comes to how do you safely deploy, when it comes to this, so what tools do we use together, how do we ensure quality? It's very, very crucial that developers have that knowledge, have those skills. And then we're talking about professional skills, so communication, time management, personal productivity. On the one hand, you will be required to work in a team, so you need these team working skills, you need skills like conflict resolution, so how do you make agreements together and how do you navigate those issues. But also personal productivity skills are very, very important, because within a team, tasks will be coordinated, tasks will be delegated, so you will be required to work on a specific problem. Yeah, if you are not productive yourself, then that will also be detrimental to the team. Then, equally important, the ability to promote yourself, the ability to show yourself well in an interview. And I'm specifically saying not to sell yourself, because that leads to other problems if you oversell yourself, but the ability to be true about what you can and what you cannot do, and to represent that in a way that instills confidence in somebody else. Very, very important. But also when it comes to profiling, marketing, you need knowledge about it. So what skills are in demand right now? How can I show what I am, so what I'm really good at, and how can you make that attractive for employers? And the last part is, if you want to make the jump to the international market, you need experience. So international companies are not going to hire people that just have had a good training. They want to hire people that have shown the ability to perform in a productive environment. Now then, let's look at what the offerings are out there. So at the low end, there are lots of offerings. So the We Are Bits, Talent QL, Moringa, there are loads more out there. These are just a few samples that we have found. that are helping developers or helping people to start coding. And they're focusing on the skills that you need to get started. And they're focusing on, so what kind of software development languages do you need to learn? How does technology work? So basically everything so that you with your laptop can create software. And then at the top end, you have lots of initiatives like TopTel, Gebea, Andela. And if you look at their websites, they all say, we give you the best developers there are. And so they are focused on the top 1% of the developers out there, and they try to match them with clients all over the world, basically. But you see that in the middle, nothing really much is happening. And so then the question, of course, becomes, how do people get from this beginning of their career to the Valhalla, so to the promised land at the end, where they can apply to these top jobs? So, and that is where we are active, and that is where we try to groom talent to grow. And so you see, what do the current initiatives offer on and that's on the left side of your screen. So what do they offer when people are coming to the market? Yes, they offer knowledge of relevant software development languages. They offer knowledge of international coding standards, but it's often limited, and that's understandable because if you're starting your career, first thing you need to learn is how to code, right? Yes, they offer professional skills development, but also there is limited because it's all focused on learning how to code. Ability to promote yourself, not really a part of most curriculums, and ability to gain professional relevant experience, also not part of these programs. So as a result, lots of developers fail to get hired, where they would have had a great chance, and companies, they miss out on great opportunities. And the main point that we as Tunga make, and yeah, that's also what I try to make a little bit in the panel discussion, it's not just about coding, it's not just about teaching people the hard skills of the job. Yes, they are extremely important, because in the end, if you've got a big problem, it's going to save the day for you. But there's so much more that comes to it. It's about being in situations where suddenly your production server goes down just before you have a big launch. What do? It's about how do you navigate things that happen within a team. So let's say you're working together in a team, someone at the other end of the screen, you don't get along. And how do you navigate that? What do? Do you go to your manager? Do you talk to that person directly? It's also about understanding the user. So this user might be saying that they want a certain feature, but how do you know for sure that that's actually what they want? There, everything ties in, and successful software developers that make the jump to the international market, they are able to use all these skills. I'm not saying that you have to be an expert at all these skills. Of course, people differ, and some are better than others in certain aspects. But you need to have these skills in your backpack in order to effectively work in an international environment. So the solution that we are working towards as Tunga now, I like to say it's already there, but we're actively building it, and that's a part of the reason here. We need help, we can't do it alone. But we need to be focused towards an experience-based learning platform. And this is not just one company or one institution that builds this platform. Now this platform needs to cut across institutions, it needs to cut across companies. And it needs to focus on this missing middle. And we already have lots of good initiatives that teach people how to code. I'm not here dismissing any of the good work that they're doing, because I think these are great initiatives and they produce highly qualified individuals. It's just not the complete puzzle yet. It needs to be tailored for African devs, or if we would translate this to the Middle Eastern context, there is a cultural context. So people in Africa go to different paths of life than people in South America, than people in Asia. And we need to take that cultural context into account when creating this learning platform. And third point, this is very important, it needs to be highly experience-based. So if you want to apply to a job opportunity internationally, remotely, people are going to ask, so what did you do? What did you deliver? What software did you build? It needs to be based on that experience that you can show. I've been in these situations, I've dealt with these problems, and this is how I solved them. Also, it doesn't mean that you solved them correctly, but it means that you already went through that certain situation. And for an employer, that means that they can rely on you. How do you act in a certain situation? And so the learning curriculum needs to be built on components that have been proven. And what we know that works over a longer period of time is that a learning curriculum needs to be self-paced. If you're going to have people that invest years of their life into building a career, you also know that things are going to happen to them. Things in their family, good things, bad things. People need to be able to navigate that. If the learning curriculum is not self-paced, you're going to lose people. And that's a shame for everybody involved. Right? Very important that it needs to be peer-reviewed. From the get-go, people need to be trained that they should be working in a team together. So they should not only be focused on their own work, but they should be focused on the work around them as well. Peer reviewing is one of the best learning experiences for software developers out there. It should be project or module based, so it should be based on something that you're actually building, that is actually going to do something. And the focus should be on software engineering. So once again, I'm trying to make a case here for looking at the software development industry holistically, but I don't want to dismiss the software engineering part. It's crucial, right? If you don't know your technology, you're not able to act. It's just that it's not the only part. This platform needs to be able to share work experience with people. So you can think here about guided internships, for example. Companies are actually very, very willing to hire interns. They're just not willing to bear the burden when it comes to training these interns, right? So, and especially in the software development industry, interns can be very valuable because they can do a lot of work that would relieve a lot of the burden of the rest of the team. But that's all dependent on how they are guided and how that work is presented to them. So if we can help companies to guide these interns, companies are very, very interested in hiring people with less experience, but that have the necessary skills to add value. Guided career development. So we've been talking about software engineering, software development as one word, as one thing, but it's actually this huge scala of things that you can do. Front end, back end, DevOps, and then in these fields you can also specialize. You can work with hardware, you can work more in the B2C market or in the B2B market. Software development, it's a creative profession. Right? It's something that's that requires people to think about solutions that have not been thought of before. So what's crucial is that they have a passion for what they do. A software developer that does not enjoy what they are doing is a recipe for disaster. They will not be able to be productive, right? Because the creative flow, the creative thinking that you need won't materialize. I already talked about international coding standards. It needs to be a big part of the work experience. So this is where you learn it on the job, and the specialization tracks. And then lastly, we need to help people to actually launch their international career. And so they need help into how do you build a portfolio, how do you build your interview or your own promotion skills. So we have lots of developers on our platform, for example, that we know. So we test them. We know they are absolutely fantastic developers, right? We know that for specific clients, if you hire this person, they will do great for you. But they don't get past the interview. And they don't get past the interview because they don't respond to questions, they don't prepare the interview, they're unsure of what to do, which is, it's a waste. And we try to work with people to improve, and that's possible. So people can learn to become better at interviews. People can learn how to market themselves. Of course, some people are better than others, right? But when it comes to this threshold of what you need in order to be successful, these are learnable skills. People need also guidance when it comes to continuous career development. So they need guidance. Which route am I going to take? I just talked about the passion that people need. Truth be said, sometimes that passion is also misguided. So sometimes people think, oh, this is something that I really love to do, but it's not where their talent is, right? People need coaching to find out, so what am I good at and what do I love, right? And these need to come together in order for people to be effective. Yeah, we call it last mile delivery. It's not the best of words, I guess, but to ensure when somebody starts at an international assignment, that's only one part of it, right? After that, we need to make sure that people are successful, that people are able to grow, and that people are able to go into other assignments as well. And basically, that's why I'm telling you this, because we're a true believer in the Pygmalion Effect, which means that how you look at the world defines how the world looks at you. And so our actions influence others' beliefs, they lead to others' actions, and they influence our beliefs. We believe there's this vast potential of African software development talent, also in the Middle East, I'm sure of it. We know that there's this enormous demand, but we also believe that we need to jointly look at this problem holistically, not just in terms of creating software engineering skills, but in creating careers for people. And that was the keynote.
Thank you very much, Dr.
So maybe there are questions. I'm not sure how I get there.
Yeah, thank you very much for this comprehensive summary and the guidelines that can benefit and African developers can take advantage of. And now the floor is
I'm sorry,
open.
I think Cairo is muted at the moment.
Yeah. I think you attend also physically at
business?
Kampala, so you can share if anyone there have questions, and I will check here in the Egypt venue about questions in.
Stop screen sharing, maybe.
Is there anyone have questions from here?
They're still muted.
Yeah, we have a question here from Egypt.
Reinier, thank you for your talk, for your presentation. Can you hear me?
Cairo, we cannot hear you. Cairo, it seems to be unmuted. Sorry, it seems to be muted.
Reinier, dank je wel voor jouw presentatie. Thank you for your presentation. I think it's a very interesting market that you want to cover. I have another experience with a Dutch company doing the same work and the same product, so to speak. How you couple the characteristics of the candidate, so to speak, with the needs of the company? Do you have a special approach, or you automate that? Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yes, Yeah, so I don't believe, first of all, I don't believe it's fully able to automate, right? So I believe there's always this human element when it comes in finding out who's a great fit for each other. But we do some tests. So we do an abstract thinking test. We do, of course, a coding test. We have what we call a situational awareness test. So how do people respond in certain situations? And a personality test. So those are lots of data points that we gather about developers. But one of the most important data points is the developer really interested in this particular client? Yeah, so I talked a little bit about passion. So we saw that, yeah, for some clients, people just feel that the technology is not, how do I say that politely? It's not interesting enough, it's not exciting enough, or maybe it's in a certain field where they just don't have an area of interest. And we also find that then it's not a good match. Yeah, so it's some data points, right? But part it's also this human element of, yeah, do we like each other?
What I've seen is that they develop an AI technique to create a DNA of the job of the company and DNA of the, let's say, of the person, and they try to match the DNA. So we are at an AI conference here. Maybe it's a nice idea for the future.
So what is possible with AI is interviews, right? So people that do interviews, it's possible to see, so how do they respond to certain questions, what is the emotion, so AI can recognize emotions, so a lot of valuable data can be collected in that sense, and I do think that the whole process we're able to automate that to a certain degree, but in the end, yeah, like I said, I still think there's a human element involved.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reinier. Do you have any questions from Kampala they will share with us? Or?
I think one right here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Would you join here? Yeah.
I'll ask from here. Yeah, thank you, Reinier, for the presentation. Mine is more to understand how the pipeline looks like. Are you getting in enough talent at the input? And for those who get in, how many eventually go through as good candidates? And what kind of feedback do you provide for those who do not necessarily go through the system? And also, what kind of feedback do you provide to institutions, maybe like universities or training institutions, that sort of like contribute to this pipeline?
Yeah. Yeah, very, very interesting question. So when we started about 6-7 years ago, our main challenge was to find clients, for people willing to hire software developers remotely from Africa. Yeah, I can say that that's not a challenge anymore. So we have lots of companies that are willing to work with software developers from all over the world, basically. But at the moment, so our challenge is the skill level of software developers. So everybody who applies to join the platform, we accept about 15% of them. And yeah, the big problem that we have right now is that if we don't accept them, they don't really have a place to go, right? So we would like. We give them feedback, of course, on, hey, these are things that we think you should improve in, but there's not really a way that we can help them to then work on that feedback. It's also not a possibility for us to accept them because if they will not be hired by our clients, basically we will not be able to meet their expectations anyhow. So that's why this talk for me, and that's why focusing on the missing middle. At the moment, we are in the exercise of trying to team up with institutions and trying to team up, but we do see that, hey, lots of institutions are focused on this beginning, right, on making sure that people have these coding skills, and we see that that's not enough, right? That's not enough for us. to help them to make that leap to the international market. Yeah, and so yeah, that's why I'd love to team up as much as possible, because in the end it is an ecosystem that needs to be developed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Reinier. And also, we appreciate if you follow up the virtual platform for any questions from any online attendees. It will be posted there. So please follow up if there are any questions on your session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.